The yellow flannel again because you like the music. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Quadeca record, Scrapyard. This is a new record from producer, rapper, songwriter, singer Quadeca, aka Ben Lasky, a guy who has made one of the most radical and surprising artistic transitions of any artist operating in the internet age over the past 10 years. Maybe it's kind of obvious and old news to be pointing this out and rehashing it at this point, but not too long ago, Quadeca was simply a rapper trying to make a name for himself through technical, flashy flows and deliveries as an independent entity on the YouTube platform. Now, the term YouTube rapper is often one that is associated with a lot of negative baggage, and for good reason. A lot of the artists who operate within this circuit and the fans who follow these people are very devoted, like Eminem stans kind of, who cheer on their new favorite up-and-coming lyrical miracles as they throw out of touch proclamations about saving the game and how, you know, they're exactly what hip-hop needs right now. Now, was Quadeca one of the most obnoxious and grating of those artists who were kind of appealing in this way? No, certainly not. But there were certainly artistic parallels there that were preventing him from appealing outside of that world. Post-2019, Quadeca has done a lot of growing. He has gained a lot of self-awareness, also showcased a newfound desire to explore other sounds and styles, genres, which brings us to the sudden and unexpected transition point of 2021's From Me to You, an album that very much saw Ben still in touch with his hip-hop roots, but on this one he was also incorporating elements of R&B, of art pop, of glitch music too a bit. And while all this unbridled experimentation did kind of lead to an album that was a little bloated, lacking in focus and overall direction, I couldn't really deny how ambitious of a move it was for him, and just how great some of the songs turned out too. It was very much a I didn't know he had it in him type moment. But this record wasn't the end of Ben's artistic transition here. He would actually go on to blow listeners away even further with the following I Didn't Mean to Haunt You in 2022, a concept record where much of what was said and rapped on this LP was told from the perspective of a ghost character. It was a more focused and more cohesive album overall, not just narratively but sonically as well, as Quadeca delivered to us a series of instrumentals that were even more a seamless blend of all the genres I mentioned previously. With this thing, it was really getting difficult to categorize Quadeca as just a rapper, much less a YouTube rapper, as he's really now just generally a musical artist through and through who seemingly can do and try to do whatever he puts his mind to. And the level of versatility Quadeca has reached in a handful of short years is honestly kind of insane. Needs to be studied, as the kids would say, which is especially true of this new record of his here, Scrapyard, with the tracks being framed as a mix of older and new stuff, material that may not have fit on his highly conceptual 2022 record, but also wouldn't see any home on a future project either. Maybe the production was too rough, maybe the song overall was a bit unfinished, or explored an idea sonically that he just wanted to touch down on for a single track. I don't know. Regardless though, listening to these tracks individually, especially, they do stand on their own artistic merits, and certainly seemed worth putting out as singles or as little EPs last year. And now with Scrapyard here, all of these tracks are being assembled, and more being added to them for an overall album slash mixtape type experience. So yes, again, in the track list here we have songs that fans may have already heard: DUSTCUTTER, a la carte, Easier, Guess Who, Even If I Tried, Under My Skin, You Don't Know Me Like That, I Make It Look Effortless. And even more so than the I Didn't Mean to Haunt You material, I'm finding a lot of these tracks just being difficult to define in terms of their sound, their style, their influences. I mean, for sure, there are lots of touches and splashes of modern internet era hip-hop across the board, be that trap, be that boom bap hip-hop, auto-croon stuff, artists who are both mainstream and underground, more abstract, artists who inhabit more of that mid-tier as well of popularity. Brockhampton, for example. I mean, Kevin Abstract does appear on the last track of this record. So there's that, and then there are a lot of moments where Ben very clearly is being heavily influenced by emo-adjacent singers and songwriters such as Conor Oberst. So we have some of those songwriting styles blending, and on top of that, many of these songs are encased in production that is so detail-heavy and lush and layered, but also messy, chaotic, lo-fi. The sounds on this record simultaneously strike me at points as harsh, as ugly, but also grand and mountainous. At times, I'm reminded of the grim and eerie horrors of Dan Barrett's Have a Nice Life, while other tracks bring the warm, blissful fuzz of My Bloody Valentine and shoegaze music more broadly. And what balance we're striking with all of these different sounds and influences really depends on the track you're listening to here. Because sure, while on the production side, much of the time the beats, loops, repetitions do read as if they're assembled much like any hip-hop song, whether or not a given track here reads as a hip-hop song on the surface kinda depends on what Ben is offering on top of it vocally and lyrically. The songs Being Yourself and Even If I Tried, for example, are a few of my favorites here, and stylistically I find both of these songs kind of impossible to categorize between their ritualistic percussion, ghostly vocals, thumping 808s, glitchy sound effects, distorted bass, shouty rap sung lead vocals, really linear song structures too that are always evolving. Again, not entirely sure what these tracks are, but I love them. Meanwhile, there are other cuts on here that read as just being straightforward rap-inspired moments. Be that Way Too Many Friends, which is some great commentary on friendship, on personal connections, on letting people in and boundaries. It really is like an indie piano ballad boom bap hybrid that couldn't sound any better than it does, especially thanks to Ben's solid rapping. Then Guess Who is a pretty experimental hip-hop no-brainer. But then conversely, Under My Skin is some very dramatic emo-style songwriting in the vein of a Conor Oberst, wrapped in this super haunting atmosphere that kind of seems way more out there than what you would usually catch on one of his LPs. There's also a similar influence on the song A La Carte 2 featuring Breakins, but this track goes in more of a bedroom emo pop direction that's super on trend right now, which is something I'm usually a little on the fence with a lot of the time, but I gotta be honest, Ben has put together easily one of the best tracks in this vein I've ever heard here, especially with all the stellar melodic rap runs, nimble bass lines too, like something you would catch out of a Flying Lotus record. Generally, the sound play across this mixtape is just so many cuts above what I'm normally hearing on any given record I have to review week to week. And I'm just in awe of how well Ben has been able to create a little sonic world here that feels both harsh, textured, weird. Yeah, again, I've said all this already, but also otherworldly and surreal and refined like an orchestra piece or something. It's really giving like The Glow Part 2 in that respect, though it's assembled with the precision that only somebody could bring to the table if they're kind of like, you know, a DAW master. But really, no matter what track I'm listening to here, I'm just constantly in awe of how chaotic it sounds, but simultaneously very carefully interconnected and assembled. And the end result is just super evocative. On these tracks, I feel like I'm being dragged through the depths of hell, or, you know, even being shot across the galaxy, like on tracks like You Don't Know Me Like That, which is a dramatic, tiny-voiced piano ballad that bursts eventually into this lush banger with punchy beats, touching arrangements. Meanwhile, Easier with its super slick guitar passages and woodwind bits that are just smudged and mutated sonically to the point where they just come across as unreal. Yeah, that's a stunning sonic moment too. And on top of it, this track, along with many others here, is kind of a lyrical flex, where Ben is going in detail around all of this emotional turbulence. It's a strange and twisted portrayal of love and obsession with somebody who he seems to be really into, but maybe he's also settling for, but he can't say no, he can't back away, he's just infatuated, and maybe he's acknowledging that the attraction is there because he doesn't want to be alone, but he's not willing to kind of cut things off and fully separate. Look, it's really complicated, and displaying the emotions on this track as such comes across as very intentional. I'm gonna wrap things up with, I guess, a few issues here. I mean, there are some tracks that I think showcase some great ideas, bring some key vibes to the table, but are maybe a little too short and underdeveloped as an entire song at the end of the day. Be that I Make It Look Effortless, as well as Guide Dog 2. And then there's Pretty Privilege, which, I mean, there are some sonic ideas that I find interesting, but much of the time the droning sonic fuzz that pervades a lot of this track kind of keeps the song from fully translating, I think. Some of the beats are a little too blown out and sunburnt too, though I do love those Grizzly Bear-esque vocal harmonies on the back end of the track and how they stack up so epically. You can really tell Ben did his indie homework on this one. Outside of that, I suppose the overall sonic presentation of this mixtape is a little sloppy, but again, I feel like with it being a mixtape of sorts, that's kind of a part of the charm and doesn't really take away from the songs, as pretty much all the various pieces of instrumentation and lyrics, vocals are all translating really well. But yeah, there are powerful, emotional, personal, and well thought out, well orchestrated and produced bangers from front to end on this thing. And it's kind of crazy how on this project of Lucy's, effectively, I think Ben has continued to evolve and really show how special of an artist he is at the end of the day, which is why I'm feeling a strong 8 to a light 9 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Quadeca, forever.